And we're back with another Feature Friday. I'm your host, Trevor Silver.
And I'm your host, Aaliyah Arab-Smith.
We got Alfred Burgesson here today.
And before we get into that, just want to make sure you all know that Season 2 is brought to you by the Supporting Black Canadian Communities Initiative, administered by the Black Business Initiative. So Alfred Burgesson, thank you so much for coming back on the Feature Friday. For those of you that don't know, we did host him on our Feature Friday Live. He was actually our first guest we ever had on that. So yeah,
original. Wow.
Full circle moment. So it's exciting to have him back on here to hear more about what you've been up to and just to connect.
For sure. It's great to be back. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
So we just get folks to introduce themselves. So we'll just get you to tell us about who you are, what you're up to.
For sure. So like you said, my name is Alfred Burgesson. Originally from Ghana. So born in Ghana and immigrated to Canada when I was 6 years old. Been here ever since. I'm now a Canadian citizen. And I live in Halifax. Kind of have been here since high school. And so Halifax is home for me now. I work at Tribe Network. Founded that in 2020. And I've been doing that ever since.
Yeah, that's dope. So do you got any memories of back home, like up to you were 6?
Of Ghana?
Yeah.
I got memories for sure, yeah. So growing up, my mom worked for the government in Ghana, and government workers lived in like a compound. And it was like apartment buildings, but we all lived together and definitely felt like a community. And so in 2016, I went back to Ghana for the first time. And I just had chills, just walking back, to where I played sports, where I learned how to ride a bicycle. I do have some core memories from Ghana for sure. Yeah.
Was it surreal going back?
Oh man. Every time I step off the plane when I land in Ghana, I get chills. Yeah. It's incredible.
Back home.
Yeah, for sure. I hope it's an experience that, I don't know if you guys ever been to Ghana?
No, I haven't even been to the continent. That's something that I've heard people speak to where they're you go back and then you're like, wow, it's just life changing and stuff. So definitely on my radar, but I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you been or no?
No, I haven't either.
Okay.
No. One day.
Yeah.
It's on the list. And so I did the DNA thing and I got Nigerian roots, Igbo tribe.
Okay.
So I kind of feel like I have to go there and experience it and tap in, with the people and see what that's all about. So you've been here in Nova Scotia since you were 6, or?
I have, yeah.
So you basically a Nova Scotian.
Pretty much.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought you come here in maybe junior high or high school with a lot of folks.
No, I came when I was 6 years old. We started in Cape Breton. Maybe that's why.
Oh, wow, rural.
Yeah. So started in Cape Breton. Lived there for 10 years.
Oh, shoot.
Lived there for 10 years before coming to Halifax for high school. Yeah.
What was that transition coming from Ghana, then going to Cape Breton, and then going to the city? Just walk us through your upbringing and how you navigated those different settings.
I mean, I grew up in Ghana where everyone's black, number one, right? Yep. The president's black, your teachers are black. Yeah. The people at the bank are black. And so moving to Port Hawkesbury, Cape Breton.
Shout out Port Hawkesbury.
Yeah, shout out Port Hawkesbury. Yeah. Moving there in March of 2003 was a culture shock for sure. We were one of 2 black families in Port Hawkesbury. And so, it was different. It was very different. But my parents, when we immigrated, my parents had to go back to school again, right? This is something that I don't think a lot of people understand about immigrants, right? A lot of people see immigrants here and feel they're taking all the opportunity, they just come in and, do whatever. It's we were 5 people living in a 2-bedroom apartment, okay, for 5 years.
Damn.
Before my parents bought a home and, reestablished themselves essentially. But I think, they chose Port Hawkesbury because it was a good place to kind of settle down and have us focus on, school and whatever they want us to focus on before,
So they had to do reschool when they came, for 5 years was the process?
My dad was an engineer in Ghana. This man worked globally, but when we moved here, he had to go back to school start from the bottom again. And same thing with my mom. She was an accountant working for the government. And when we moved here, it was your credentials don't matter no more. You gotta.
It's messed up.
Yeah.
That whole thing is messed up.
It's I would think maybe give us a little test or something or whatever,
right?
But
yeah, it's changing now slowly. Yeah. But back then it was you gotta go back to school.
How was the transition, or was there a reason why they came from Ghana to Cape Breton, or was there a friend there or someone that influenced?
There was nobody there.
Yeah.
There was nobody there that we knew or my dad knew. But the main reason why was because my dad was an engineer, and they had like what they call a nautical engineering school in Port Hawkesbury. And so, if you wanted to be a Navy engineer, he had to go to that
So
school.
that's nautical means like Navy, something to do with the Navy?
Something with the ocean.
It's like, I don't know.
Subnautica.
I know there's like a brand called Nautical.
There is a brand called, and they got the little sailing boat, right?
Yeah. That's enough of that I know. But. So he ended up doing that, and then boom.
Yeah, and then working his way back up to being an engineer. And so, he just went back to school. It took time, obviously. Like, you spend like 2 or 3 years back in school, and then when you get a job, it's not like you go right to the top again. It's like you gotta work your way up. Totally.
So like seeing your dad do that, it gave you fuel to fight and.
Oh yeah. And I mean, from the jump when we got here, like they made it clear to us, so like this is not a vacation. You know what I mean? Like, cause like I was 6, right? And they're like, oh, we're going to Canada. And, I'm excited, right? I'm like, oh my God, this is so fun. Like, they're like, ew, this is not fun. Like, this is a business trip.
Grind, brother.
This is a business trip. Like, this is not a joke. And so it was hard. It was hard moving here. And, credit to my parents for just having a vision, you know what I mean? And sticking to it. And I mean, they've raised us well. I've got an older brother who's a doctor. We were talking about this off air. My brother's a doctor. My sister is in marketing. I'm doing what I'm doing. So I think it's paid off. A big investment is definitely paying off. Yeah.
And like having a family of success is something that's really standing out to me. What are some values? I mean, like witnessing your parents go through the schooling process again, and that commitment and that dedication. What values do you feel like your parents and family have instilled in you and your siblings to be able to pursue the things that you're pursuing?
Resilience, for sure, right? Like, they did not have to move here, right? Like, we had a good life in Ghana, like, a good life. Like, they did not have to move here. And so, just, like, willing to take risks, right? Willing to, like, start from the bottom and be like, sure, like, I'm going to get back to the top, right? And just, like, I never once heard my parents question their ability to do anything, And so, just, like, pure perseverance, resilience. They took risks for sure. And then I think also like there was a certain level of respect that they would kind of instill in us, that even if people don't respect you, still respect them, and so those are some of the values.
Yeah, I think that's a good principle. Like you give the respect even if they don't. Eventually they will. It kind of reminds me of like the Martin Luther King principles and stuff like that.
100%.
You talked a lot about risk.
We are on the same page.
Took the words out of the mouth.
I swear.
So you talk a lot about risk, and it makes me think like, okay, what are some of the things that you've taken the risk on? So like you've came here, you've seen them take the risk. What are some of the early risks, and maybe what's some of the risks that you've been taking now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say one of the risks that I took in high school was I was playing ball growing up, right? My brother played ball, I played ball, and in high school, I played 1 year in Cape Breton, and then I was like, you know what? I need to get out of here.
Like CBU?
No, high school. I was in high school, so this is still
sure.
Port Hawkesbury, but I wanted to go to the league, right? I had these dreams, the hoop dreams.
You got the height.
I got the height.
Yeah.
I could shoot. That's the number one thing I had was I was a shooter. And so I had like ambitions to go to the league, and I was like, okay, it's not going to happen from Cape Breton or Port Hawkesbury. And so one of the things that I would always talk to my mom about was like, I want to move somewhere where I can like play ball and play ball at a high level, and be challenged. And so in grade 10, we decided to move up to Halifax, and I went to the grammar school actually.
Okay, dope. So you saying back when in Cape Breton, there was no challenge for you? Like you would dunk?
Not really.
Boys.
Not really. It wasn't really a challenge.
And the exposure too was probably
the exposure wasn't there.
Yeah.
Now, granted, my brother did have a chance to go from Port Hawkesbury to Queen's University and play ball.
Oh, wow.
But I think that mainly came from him getting exposure at like Dow camps, SMU camps, St. Vex camps, training camps of all sorts. So I definitely knew that like if I wanted to play in the NBA, like I got to go somewhere where there's competition, I can get better.
Yes.
And so in grade 10, moved to Halifax, and I would consider that a risk for sure.
You moved here on your own, or
Moved with my mother.
okay.
At the time, she was a single mother. And so, grammar has school fees you got to pay. And even if you get a scholarship, you got to pay, right?
Yeah, that's no joke.
With a single mother, housing costs is a lot different in Port Hawkesbury than it is in Halifax. It was just me and her, and we found a way to make it work. But I would say that was one of the risks that I took early on. And yeah, we can talk about that experience too, because now, I go from Ghana to Port Hawkesbury, and now I'm in, Port Hawkesbury is a great community, but it's not like, how do I put it? Like, the economy is not booming in Port Hawkesbury, right? Like, there's not a lot of wealthy people there, great people, but not a lot of like businesses that are, scaling and growing. And so going from there to the grammar school, where people are pulling up in, Land Rovers
God knows
and
what, all these
Maseratis, and I was like, damn,
Facts.
this is different, and that was a unique environment for me as well, because felt out of place there too, you know what I mean, and had to kind of find my own people, find my community, and I would say I always had this thing of like, I want to find my tribe, and like my parents kind of instill that in us too, like not everybody's for you, but like find your people, you know what I mean? And so that has always been something that has been with me. And it's not like if I don't align with someone, it doesn't mean we gotta have beef. It doesn't mean we gotta, I don't know, like it doesn't mean we have a problem, like you're doing what you're doing and that's great, and I'm doing what I'm doing, that's great. And so but ultimately that is something that I had throughout my like childhood, is like, I need to find my tribe.
That's
like,
crazy.
say you're a young person listening right now, like what advice would you give them if they're like lost or trying to find their tribe? Because I know we'll get into the tribe.
That's crazy. And that's, you can give them the advice on what you would say for them to find that.
If you're a young person and you're really trying to figure out, who you should surround yourself with, what you should do with your life, I would say there are 4 main questions you should ask yourself. And you can do this by writing them on paper and answering them with about maybe 3 or 5 sentences. And so the first one would be, what am I good at? All right. What are you good at? Identify that. Identify, what do you love? Right? What do you love? Is it your family? Is it, time in nature? Is it playing ball? What is it? What does the world need? Right? Does the world need more respect? Does the world need more love? Does it need more caring? Whatever you think personally the world needs, write that down. And then write down, what can you be paid for? And that's where you start to identify how you can find your profession in life. And so I think starting with those 4 questions and mapping out, what am I good at? What do I love? What does the world need? And what can I be paid for? I truly believe those are like, some introductory questions you can ask yourself to identify, like, who am I? And like, who should I be spending time with? Right? If you write down what the world needs or what you love, but you're surrounded with people who don't align with that, maybe you shouldn't be hanging out with them. You know what I mean? And it's nothing against them, but maybe you need to find other people that have similar values or similar beliefs in life. And so that would be my advice.
Yeah, I think that's powerful.
Yeah. So then also, find your tribe. Like, I feel like I just had like a light bulb moment of how that connects to the tribe network. So I think that is that's going to be the title of the episode.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think that's a crazy capture right there. But yeah, so tribe network. And then also you speak to like taking risk. And I feel like with entrepreneurship, there's a level of risk that you have to take. So what inspired you essentially to start up Tribe Network? I know we spoke on the Instagram Live, but just giving all the people a little scoop of how you got inspired to start Tribe.
For sure.
And what the purpose of Tribe is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, looking back now, I can say that like Tribe is what I would have needed 10 years ago as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and the origin story comes in a few different parts, but part 1 would be being a business owner in university and looking around the city and looking at where can I go to get help, right? I'm starting a business. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm trying something new. You know what? I'm taking a risk. There's something that I want to offer as a service, as a product, but I don't really know what I'm doing. And this is the struggle for any entrepreneur when you're starting out. You don't know what you're doing. You're like, you're willing things into existence. You know what I mean? Whether it's through creativity or through an idea. And so when I first started my first business, I was looking for a place to go and get help. And long story short, there weren't many places where I saw us in there.
Yeah, facts.
You know what I mean? There weren't many places where I would walk in and be like, yeah, I belong here. Or, you know, there weren't many places where I would walk in and they would actually like help me. I never felt like I was getting the service that other people were getting. And so again, cool. You guys can do that thing over there. But that was like the first light bulb of like something needs to exist. Something different needs to exist for us where we feel like we can be home, where it's a warm environment.
Yeah.
We can play our music. You know, we can access it after hours for events.
Yeah.
So I knew that something new, something different needed to exist. But I mean, I was 20 years old with like no money, no resources. What am I going to do? Like I can't afford to create my own innovation hub or space. Right. So, but that was the first light bulb moment of like, okay, I didn't like that experience that I just had. And I know there's something better out here. So I would say that was part one. Part two was when I worked with the chiefs, the indigenous chiefs. And through that experience, I learned that indigenous people didn't even know that like innovation hubs existed, right? Like entrepreneur centers, innovation hubs. So I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
How do we have a whole segment of the population that doesn't even know that these public spaces are available to them, right? Mind you, they're not even in their communities. They're like way outside their community. So it's not accessible. Yeah. And so again, another moment where I'm like, okay, well, where are they going to go get the help if they need for their business, right? So that was like the second light bulb moment. The third light bulb moment for me was during the pandemic, I got a call from a senator, Senator Colin Deacon. Shout out Senator Colin Deacon. He called me during like George Floyd and was like, you know, he's a serial entrepreneur. Like he's done well in his life as an entrepreneur, and now he's a senator. And he called me and he said, like, what can I do? As a senator, I have the opportunity to put, you know, policy and new initiatives into place, new rules, if you will, new laws, right? And so he called me being like, what can I do? I didn't know, and I don't know what to do. What can I do? And so that led to me actually going to work for the Senate of Canada for a few months. And during that time, I interviewed entrepreneurs across the country. We did a survey for entrepreneurs across the country. And that's where like everything we know to be true came out in like stats. You know what I mean? Whether it's access to bank relationships, mentors, chambers of commerce, trust in governments, access to funding, access to networks, like the things we know to be true. That's when like we did the research, we had the data, and it was like, okay, it's undeniable.
Yeah.
Right. And so in doing that work, again, another light bulb moment of like, what am I going to do? Like I've seen this thing reoccurring, but like, what can I do to be a part of the solution? And so that's when I left the Senate of Canada and decided, okay, I'm going to launch Tribe Network, and I'm going to launch this to be, focus on community, creating a sense of community and belonging for racialized people, and then serve them through entrepreneurship. So we provide mentorship, coaching, grant funding, so anywhere from like $500 to $5,000 in grants. We have some programs that can provide grants for entrepreneurs. But like, yeah, I would say the number one thing is like, how do we create a sense of belonging for people, right? How do we allow people to gain that confidence to be an entrepreneur, right? And that comes from, you know, getting support from other entrepreneurs. It comes from meeting with mentors and coaches that can reassure you, that can help you, you know, navigate what to do or how to do it or who to meet with. And so those are some of the things that, you know, led to me being like, okay, I need to do this thing. And yeah, now it's 5 years
Yeah,
later.
made it happen.
Yeah, that's a crazy leap, because it's like
Facts.
advising chiefs and senators, and then like what were you doing to put them on notice to even get in contact with you initially?
That's a great question. I guess my initial businesses, right? My first business was a digital media company. I don't know if you guys know Jeremy McAvoy.
Yeah, I know Jeremy.
Yeah.
Shout out Jeremy.
Shout out Jeremy McAvoy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give some shout outs today.
Yeah, always.
And so Jeremy and I started a company called Under the Bridge Digital Media.
Were you guys doing
AUS.
Yes, I remember. I remember.
Used to do the AUS highlights and all that. So I actually met one of the chiefs through the work we were doing there.
Awesome.
The senator, I think I knew his son, and we did some work together too. And so just through work I was doing before, they were like, okay, we see you, and how can we work together?
So it just goes to show, like, the work that you are doing in community, or the work that you are doing with others, it pays dividends in the future for like your career.
Big time.
Building up the confidence. Because I mean, that must have been a big confidence boost if you got a senator calling you asking for advice.
Sure, it was, but I will also say this, like both experiences working with the chiefs and the experience working with the senator, like I felt like an imposter, right? And this is something that I feel like I've gone through like phases where with the chiefs, I was like, why me? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm the only black guy in the boardroom, but like you got the chiefs negotiating at the table with like ministers, you know what I mean? And so like, I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, what is this useful for? How am I useful? But I think the beautiful thing with that community is like they reassure you, you know what I mean? Like they'll find ways to reassure you that like, yes, like you're here for a purpose.
Yeah, that's the reason.
You might not know it today, but you'll soon know. So yeah, that, I mean, I definitely like feel incredibly like lucky and grateful to have those opportunities, but there were definitely moments where I was like, should I be here? Like, am I the one that's supposed to be doing this? Like, you know?
So for like me or Leah or any young person watching this, like what are some things that you have done or that you've practiced to get over like the imposter syndrome type of thing? Because I mean, I go through it.
Yeah.
I'm sure she goes through it. We all go through it.
I feel like it comes in waves and different phases, right? Like, it's a good thing. You know what I mean? You're being challenged if you have imposter syndrome. You're doing something that's pushing you out of your comfort zone. So like, it's actually a good thing. And I feel like we have like society, some people have it wrong because whenever they feel that imposter syndrome, they lean back and now they're no longer doing that challenging thing no more because they feel like, oh, it's not for me. You know what I mean? But like, but truthfully, like that's the exact point you need to like lean in more and be like, okay, why am I here? And like, let me find out why I'm here. You know what I mean? So the advice for any young person is like, you know, imposter syndrome is real. I've experienced it. It comes through in phases, and it usually comes through in phases where you just feel uncomfortable because you're out of your element, you're out of your comfort zone. And it's something that my advice is like, don't run away from it. Like that's the moment where you should actually like lean in and be like, okay, let's do it. You know?
Because that's where you'll probably find the answers. Like even for yourself is like, when you get through it, it's like you look back and be like, okay, I'm 100%. Not an imposter. This is the work I should be doing.
100%.
This is experience adding to my resume, adding to my journey, adding to my advice that I'm able to give to young people.
You're building your network, right? I gained so many insights from both arenas that if I didn't play in those arenas, I wouldn't have. And I probably wouldn't start Tribe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And even with Tribe too, something that I like as well is, I mean, you worked for the chief and basically you were in indigenous communities. And with Tribe, you're supporting racialized individuals. So you're supporting immigrant populations, African Nova Scotians, and indigenous communities. So what's it like navigating that and essentially giving back to make other communities as well not feel that imposter syndrome and feel part of like a community or a network?
What does it feel like?
Yeah. What's that feeling like to kind of bring it full circle? And
honestly, like, I think I don't think about that as much as I probably should. And this is a problem that I think I have. And to some it might be a problem. To others it might be like, this is good. To me it's good. To others it's a problem. And it's like, whatever we've done yesterday, I'm like, not good enough.
Keep pushing.
Like honestly, like
not resting on your laurels, not resting on your successes, because that's when, like you were saying, you're not leaning in anymore.
Feel comfortable and
exactly. And so like people will tell us like, you know, you guys are doing so well and it's like, yeah, the vision, like there's so much more to do. There's so much more to go. so much more impact to have. So that's another thing I would say is like, yes, take a moment to smell the roses every now and then.
Yeah.
But like, stay focused on the mission, stay focused on the impact you're trying to have. And soon you'll put your head up and like, oh, like shit, like we got a building, we got a space, we got, you
I
know.
love that.
What
all
Kobe
these
say that
people in
time? You
here.
remember what Kobe said that time in the interview?
Rest in the end, not in the middle. Is that one?
Job not done.
You know what? They got to put the meme. they got to put in the meme.
For sure. Tell them boys put the meme in.
Job not finished.
Yeah.
Nope.
Not
For
really.
real, for real.
I think that's a good mindset to have as well. Like you said, like the brief period of like acknowledging, like the work is great, but then also kind of like motivating yourself and being like, but there's more work that needs to be done. Because I think that keeps you disciplined, and also it makes you continue to have impact and longevity with the work that you're doing. So
100%. Yeah. I mean, you said it well. There are things that I wish like I could do differently, you know, like I tend to focus on what needs to be done versus like what has been done or the progress that is already made.
Yeah.
And so I do find sometimes like, you know, it's okay to like slow down, be in the moment a little bit, celebrate some wins, you know?
How do you balance that though? I mean, like for having the mindset that it's like you want to celebrate the wins, but at the same time you want to keep moving forward. Like how do you balance those two to continue to do the work?
I mean, for anyone that is like pursuing being great at anything, I hate to say it, but I don't think you're gonna find balance.
That's a good take. 100%.
You know, like let's be honest, like and you know, before starting Tribe, like I thought I'd be able to find balance and like, you know, but if you're trying to get into entrepreneurship, or if you're trying to be the best at being a doctor, if you're trying to be the best at being an accountant, like you're not gonna have balance. I'm sorry. You know?
I hear that a lot from like highly successful people, is like, put that balance out the window because it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, it's not. And like, there may be moments where you take a vacation and you can like relax a little bit and do whatever, but man, like, you have to have late nights. You have to do things other people aren't willing to do in order for you to stick out.
To get forward. I think that's important too for community and people to hear, because oftentimes we're told like balance, finding that balance, but knowing that for greatness and success, it takes having some days where the balance might be all over the place and you're continuing to strive to those things.
100%.
So,
Yeah. What does like success look like for you with Tribe? Like,
so right now we've grown our network to about 2,000 people, both, you know, across Canada, but also globally. So we have people that are in Africa, in Asia, in South America, and Europe that are joining our community platform. And I think that is the true vision of Tribe, is to build a global network.
Wow.
Right? Like, I want to be able to connect. If you're looking to do work in China someday or in Singapore, I want to be able to say, we got some people in the network that you can connect with. Right? I think there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah. Shout out to my friends in Singapore. I got a buddy from Singapore I met when I was in China through Opportunity East through SMU.
Okay.
So it was like great experience for me, great opportunity. And you could they had a bunch of people go to China.
Yeah.
Like business people, and like only 2 people from Canada, and we connected with young people from all over the world. Some people that want to be doctors, some people that are like business owners, et cetera, like game developer guys from like UK. So like we got to meet those folks, and it's just inspiring to see like different world perspectives, different views, and different like how people that, like you were saying, that want to achieve things, like where's balance at? We just working, we trying to grind, we trying to make it happen, and like we're willing to do whatever we got to do,
100%.
whether it's go to China, learn about China, try to connect with like producers of like technologies or like clothing,
and how they do
whatever.
things.
Yeah.
Everywhere does things differently.
100%.
And that's something
customers.
that I love, is like, you know, I love Nova Scotia, I love Atlantic Canada, but like, it's okay to like go outside and learn how other people do things and bring some of that back.
Even the people that are here that like, you might be from the white community, or you might be from the black community, or you might be from the Indian community, and you stick to your community.
That's right.
But if you open up and you talk to the Indian person next door, the white person, or the black person, like, and then you
learn
get to
something.
understand,
you learn something,
how they live and how they do things.
100%. And you know, I'll say this too, like, I remember when I first started Tribe, people were like, and in general, I know people have like a visceral response to the term BIPOC, right?
Yeah.
And it's something I've always struggled with, because I'm like, where's that coming from? Like, I understand that we need Indigenous organizations, we need Black organizations, we need African Nova organizations, we need organizations that are working with immigrants and Southeast Asians and all that. That we need.
Yeah.
Don't we need a space where we can all come together and learn as well? As people that have been oppressed for thousands of years, isn't that a valuable thing to have?
Yeah.
You know, and so sometimes I wonder, like, is someone putting this in our minds that it's not a good thing to be together?
Oh, like divisive type.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
possible,
honestly, like, and so anyway, I can rant about
No, we
that
can
all
go
day.
on this because I like this topic because from my perspective, I'll give in my little thing is that we're such a small part of the population in the numbers that the majority doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So then if they don't care, then if they look at it like, oh, we don't need that, then they looking at us like, hey, we don't need you guys.
100%. Or for example, if the African immigrant community and the African Nova Scotian community can't come together, but we're expecting whether it's the government or industry to serve us in some way, but we're not together, we can't win.
Yeah, 100%. It's
We
that
cannot
divisive
win.
thing. And then when we look at historical traumas and shit that folks have went through, it's like, how do we bring the people together? These are good questions that is good for us to ask you because you've been working with all different types of Black folks. So it's like, what are the main things, the glue that can keep us together and bring us more together?
First of all, I think a platform like this is key, right? What you guys are doing is important, and having African Nova Scotians and having people from the continent or the Caribbean helps. Having conversations like this, I think, has ripple effects. So, like, keep doing this.
Thank you.
And then, like finding spaces in community where we can come together, collaborating on initiatives together. Celebrating each other, right? Like creating cultural experiences with each other, I think is a big one. There's a big thing right now around being Afrocentric, right? And I truly do believe that, like, in order to be Afrocentric, we need to have the wisdom of African Nova Scotians who've been here and who've faced incredible barriers. We also need the experiences of Black people from the continent or the Caribbean who are used to being in environments where they are not the minority. Right? Like, there are lessons there that need to
100%,
share.
bro. Empowering lessons too.
Right? Both in mindset, in, how to maybe stand up to the oppressor, how to defeat the oppressor, right? So
Who is the oppressor? Identifying that.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it comes down to, like, creating spaces for conversation, for shared experiences, really, is what it is.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, that's dope. So maybe,
I mean, it seems so simple though, right?
No,
Like,
but to hear it like this, like, I think you're, like, articulating that really well. Where
like
it's
a lot of people, like, that's why it's important to have the raw convos because people that are listening, they might be like, something might click in them to make them act or to make them move or to make them understand, like, hey, you
100%.
need to learn from your brother, you need to learn from your sister.
100%. And I'll give you one more example to just hit the nail on the head on this.
Yeah.
We have to work together because, like, we can't do this crabs in a bucket thing, right? If you as an African Nova Scotian get a good job as an executive director somewhere, as an African, by me pulling you down, I'm pulling all of us down.
Yeah.
Because the oppressor is going to be like, not going to work out. It doesn't matter if you're African Nova Scotian, if you're Caribbean, or if you're African, they're going to be like, not the right fit for us anymore.
Yeah, they check their box and then they're on.
So
to the next,
we have to find ways where we uplift each other. When you see someone who's struggling or they do something wrong, like, find the space to, like, tell them and have a conversation. It's not about, like, calling them out. Bradley Day always says it's not about calling them out and making them look bad. It's about calling them in.
Yeah.
Right. And so that is something that I think we need to do more of, honestly, is, like, like, support people. Like, I wish I was the executive director, but, like, by them being in that position, they're creating a pathway. Right. So.
Yeah,
and I find, like, it could be, like, a lot of gatekeeping. It could be a lot of different stuff like that. And it's also, like how do we encourage more collaboration versus competition in that? Because what you're saying with, like, oh, you got that job, I want that job. It's like that competitive or that scarcity mindset. It's like, how do we give our community, like, an abundance mindset to where we can work together, we can do this, like. For me, like, I have clothing, so it's like I always am in a collaborative mood. Like, I'm never in a place where, like, oh, I can't work with you or I can't do whatever. It's more so Pepsi needs Coke. we need each other in order to flourish, in order to grow.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
how do we kind of cultivate that within our community outside of ourselves and the people that we know that are collaborative?
Yeah.
How do we get the people that are the opposite of collaborative or the competitive people? Like, I mean, some competition is good, but like, how do we get those folks that like trying to tear us down or tear each other down to not do that and do the opposite of that?
To lift up.
I mean, I think it's a great question. It's very situational, right? It's very like depends on what the situation is for sure. I always like to say like time will tell. You know, like if someone is pulling you down and doesn't believe in you, if you're great, you're gonna show them you're great. You know what I mean? And at some point, they're gonna realize, and they're gonna, you know, that respect is gonna occur. Yeah, there's been many times
because there is some people that are in like great positions that are in that mindset of like, oh, it's all me, and like you, down, and it's like there's only a certain amount of time we all have on the earth. So like, how do we change their minds, or how do we change the minds of young people that might have that attitude that it will stop them from getting to those positions because they have that attitude? And then like they're burning these bridges. It's like, bro, you're 25 or you're 20 something burning all these bridges. And when you get older, you got to realize like there's guys when you're 50 that you got to work with, or people that are going to be the ones that are giving you the opportunity to work for them. You
totally.
know?
I feel you, man. It's a great question, but it's very situational at the same time. And back to time will tell. It's like if that person is doing that at 25, they'll realize at some point that they shouldn't have done that.
It will like flip back in the future.
Yeah.
Quick question. The next 5 or 10 years, how old are you right now?
28.
28. So when you're 38, what do you see Tribe doing, and where do you see you in that time?
Great question. So it's been 5 years of Tribe so far, and we've been doing a lot in terms of like capacity building for entrepreneurs. I really think the next 10 years are going to be about like unlocking more capital for entrepreneurs. So one thing we're doing, and like this is another level where I'm like, I feel like an imposter. I'm in these rooms where I'm like, I don't think I know my shit, but like I need to be here. And so, you know, something that we're focused on right now is building a venture fund, right? Like, you know, building a fund that can actually invest equity into an entrepreneur and say, hey, I'm going to give you $250,000. How much is that worth to your company? Based on the valuation of your company, if I give you $250,000, how much percentage can we get out of that? And then as the investor, I have an incentive to connect you with new distribution channels, supply chains. And so, you know, I will say this, like over the last 5 years, there's a few entrepreneurs, especially in the tech space, that we've been able to help secure venture capital dollars. But it's been through referrals that we had to make, right? And it's hard too when you're just like saying, hey, like this is a really good, you know, entrepreneur, like invest in them. Like it's a hard sell versus like, we put $250,000 in and we want you to come in as a co-investor. And so I really do think the next level for Tribe is like building up that fund so that we can be a little bit more aggressive and impactful and really just how we help companies grow.
You're giving them that opportunity.
100%.
You make me think about the Tribe Den, not the Dragon's Den, but the Tribe Den. You know, the opportunities like that, they you know, sometimes they come once in a lifetime, but having people come to pitch or having people, like, because I know you guys teach folks how to pitch, like, you know what I mean? So those opportunities for our communities are like greatly needed.
They're valuable. And like, you know, what we do right now, it helps entrepreneurs. What I'd love to see over time is like these entrepreneurs having the resources to hire people in the community and build teams, you know what I mean? And like, at the end of the day, like that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to empower people so that they can create generational wealth.
So the folks that would be able to help you and assist you in these opportunities to create to that level, maybe talk to them and ask, like if they could be listening right now, we never know. Like what could you say to them to get them on board with assisting you in success?
Yeah. Let me look right at them.
I love the turn of that.
Our mission is to serve racialized individuals that are pursuing entrepreneurship and innovation. And we need your help. We need your help because by 2040, Canada will be a majority of racialized people, by the way. So the likelihood of your kids or your grandkids having babies that are racialized is very, very high. It's in your best interest to support these communities today, because someday your grandchild might be working in these communities and might be related to these people. And so if there's anything you can do to support our mission at Tribe, do reach out to us. Our website is tribenetwork.ca, and we look forward to working with you.
Hey, I ain't mind. That was fire, bro. That was fire. You tough. You letting them know straight to their head.
Yeah,
straight
man.
up. You guys gonna have racialized lineage,
Yeah,
and it's
for
gonna be
sure.
what it's
Better
gonna
do
be.
something about it.
Yeah, and you better support it, or
Start
you know
now.
what I mean.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. So the last question would be, from my understanding, this was before I joined the African Nova Scotian Social Innovation Employment Lab, tongue twister, ANS Lab. But I know that you were a big part of the ANS Lab committee, the youth lab committee that was originally there. So just wondering what that experience was like and how that's impacted your life and your journey.
Great question. I mean, it was an incredible experience because it was one of those moments where I had an opportunity that I've never had before.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, we are co-creating solutions in communities, and then we're having to present to government officials.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think it was key because, like, it gave me confidence. It gave me know-how. And so, yeah, it's been a core part of my development and growth as a leader, and as someone who is now very much in like program community engagement, being a part of that in my early years. This was like back in like 2017, 2018. Yeah, this is before Tribe. So it definitely, I learned a lot through that experience. It inspired me. And it's something that I believe anyone who participated in that program at that time, they are likely doing something today that is hitting on the indicators that we identified back then.
Wow,
That's powerful.
No matter what they're doing today,
Mm-hmm.
they're addressing the issues that we discovered in that lab.
That's true.
And that's I think that's
Yeah.
ultimately the impact that an experience like that can have, is like, sometimes it's not about like, oh, did the government end up funding us to do this thing? But it's like, the dozens of people that were a part of it, they're taking those wherever they go, right? If they're at the boardroom table, they have the insights from that to share.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the value in that program, and that's how I feel about it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh my goodness, that is impactful. And thank you so much on behalf of the ANS Lab for being a part of that, because thanks to you and the other committee members and those supporters that we have currently in the ongoing progress, we're able to do the work with the lab and then reflect on those moments and continue to have those moments that build on those pillars and stuff like that. So thank you for being part of that.
Thank you.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
I don't know if you watched the full episode before, but you were here before. One word checkout. You familiar with that?
Yeah. I'm familiar with that.
So, audience, if you're not familiar with the one word checkout, it's one word of how you're feeling, the vibe of this conversation, how you're feeling today by taking this information in. And it's just one word, and maybe explain it, why you feel that way. Leave it in the comments below. I'm about to get mine ready. They about to say theirs.
Yeah.
Cool. You want me to go first?
It's
Oh,
up to
if you
you.
ready.
If you ready, crazy ready, all like
You-
that.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do
the
it.
entrepreneurship pitch.
Let's do it.
Yes.
And I'm honestly like, I'm energized. You know what I mean? Like, I feel good having this conversation with you guys, and you forced me to reflect on a few things. And I feel energized. Yeah.
Awesome. That's a great one. You got one?
Okay, yeah, I got one.
Okay.
I'm still stuck on that answer to the ANS Lab. Like, that is so beautiful.
Mm.
I haven't even heard anything worded in that way, but let me go back to the one word checkout and lock in. But my word is collaborative. I feel like the stuff that you're highlighting is, was that your word? We on the same wavelength today. I'm telling you.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah. But yeah, the Bluetooth network. But yeah, collaborative, because being collaborative, not only within your own community, but with other communities and working together towards a shared goal, a shared mission. And just how being like, it even makes me think of like how sometimes as youth and through sports and different things, we're taught to be competitive when realistically, I feel like kind of shifting that mindset in youth to be more collaborative and a healthy competitive that pushes people to elevate themselves. So collaborative would.
Awesome.
I like that.
My word will be, since you told mine, it's going to be journey. So like listening to you talk about your journey coming from Ghana at a young age, being like basically African Nova Scotian because you've been here for so long. I think the journey that we all take place in, they're going to intersect, they're going to collaborate together, they're going to energize together. And I feel like just recognizing that we're on this journey together. And like, to me, I believe like we're all one. Like we all one person. So like when you disrespect one person, you're disrespecting yourself. So if you have an outlook like that, like we're on the same journey, we're here to help each other. Sometimes helping each other is pushing each other to do better. Sometimes it's taking each other in or listening or giving advice. And yeah, I just think like a lot of the stuff that you touched on and a lot of stuff I see you doing in community, it's doing great for the next generations. I'm sure it's doing great for even the older folks, but like the next generation is who matters. And I always say something like, it's easier to raise strong children than it is to fix broken adults. And I think what you're doing is raising strong children and allowing them to become all they can become.
Thank
and,
you.
Like, helping them with their potential.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure having you. We'll go right into the outro. So thank you all as well for tuning in and listening to this episode with Alfred Burgesson. A lot of gems were dropped and there's a lot of stuff on the horizon. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share. I feel like I'd be a broken record when I be saying all that stuff. Just make sure you do it because the more you do it, the less I have to say it. So make sure you guys do all of that. And also make sure that you tune in and make sure that you look at the podcast wherever you watch your podcast, including YouTube.
There you go. She said it all. We're here. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to our Feature Friday podcast. And just wanted to make sure that you guys are connected on all platforms. So wherever you're tuning in, maybe even leave us a 5-star review.
If you're watching on YouTube, hit like and subscribe.
And on our social medias as well, you can follow us at ANS Lab or at African Nova Scotian Youth Lab as well on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got the whole mumble jumble. It'll be in our link tree in our bio.
Don't forget to enter our contest that we have in each episode.
And the way to enter that contest will be sprinkled throughout our episodes, so make sure that you're listening and paying attention.
Each episode may be different, but comment below wherever you are.
And if you don't use social media and you're one of those people, you can even reach out to us by email at anslab@onenorthend.com.
The details are in the episode description.
And last but not least, we want to make sure that we get you guys connected to our resource, our network of resources, the Grapevine newsletter. So to get subscribed, you can check the link in our bio and subscribe yourself. But if you're not that tech savvy, you can also email us at anslab@onenorthend.com and we can get you hooked up.
We'll see you on the next episode.
See you next month.
Let's get it.
Feature Friday. Friday.
What's your favorite thing about Fridays?
That's a good question.
The features.